more of our gut health month, and it's been super exciting because we've taken several of these topics over the last 3 years, and I've spoken on them, and sometimes all of them in one condensed talk. But to be able to really dig deeper and deeper into the gut health, it's been a wonderful awakening for myself and hopefully for some of you because I've known these truths for a long time, but when you get to eating things that isn't perfect for your health, you ignore those truths. And I just pretend if I just don't put it in my thoughts in my head, then I don't think about it, then it doesn't bother me. And I just continue to not work with my body as much as I should. Okay. Your body's going to work. It's whether you're working with what it wants to work and how it wants to process, and you feed that, or you work against the grain all the time and then chase the side effects of poor diet with medications to change the way you're feeling, but not fixing the problem. So it really does become the root of so many of our issues of us that want to get to that next healing breakthrough or that next level of health. We're required to take a deeper look within inside. And I've always been fascinated by mentors that I've come across over the years. And it was always in the same information. Like I already knew what they said, but just the way that they said it or the analogy that they used helped me absolutely make the decision to follow that or to try that. And it inspired me. And then I would tell my parents, "Oh, I just learned this today and I'm doing this." And they'd be like, "Mark, we've been telling you that for years." And I'm like, I know, but I wasn't doing it for the right reasons or not doing it for the right reasons. And so it's inspiring to me to find some simple truths in just the way that we understand how our body works. And then it makes it a little bit easier to take better care of our body. So the first week, we're looking at pretty much the entire gut health in a little overview. And then we talked about the microbiome and how that's our second brain. 90% of our serotonin comes from that biome. So if we don't have a good, healthy biome, we don't have a lot of good emotions and feelings that we're feeling because we're not being able to make the neurotransmitters to do that. The second week, we talked about that gut brain axis and how that connection is really your brain's on standby waiting for input from the gut to know how to respond and how to maintain your health. And so, if we're not paying attention to the gut and we have brain issues, you'll never completely balance the brain issue unless we can also balance the gut. It is a super important connection. Now, last week we spoke about immunity and how 90% of your immunity lies behind your intestines. Your lymphatic system is the largest amount of your lymphatic system is right there behind the intestines, and it's getting the weather report of, what's the weather outside. If it's a beautiful sunny day, it's good. They're going to make some cells. They're going to be ready to function and do whatever you need them to do. And we're going to have our immune system respond quickly when something comes in. But right now, there's no threat. So we're all on standby. Or it's, oh my goodness, there's a fire coming, or a storm, a hurricane, a flood. It thinks that you're in threat, that you're being threatened. And so the cells come out already genetically predisposed to fight. Like we have a war going on here. We need more soldiers. And so your genes play a huge role. And believe it or not, we used to think it was all lifestyle that determines what activates my genes to turn on this illness or this condition versus somebody else like my twin brother that didn't. Okay. And so, why do these things happen? We used to think it was all about lifestyle. In that case, everything that we're talking about over these weeks holds a huge amount of weight because this is really the net result of what your lifestyle has been in determining how well your gut functions. But we found out in later years through all the study of epigenetics that it's not about lifestyle. That's 15% of the equation. 35% is the quality of the bacteria in your gut. These are the antennas that our cells speak to be able to communicate to other parts of our body. So we are dependent on our bacteria. We need the good bacteria so we have working cell phone antennas. And so that's 35%. Well, where's the other 50%? You might be surprised to know that it's your attitude, your thoughts, and what you are thinking is creating the release of a lot of these stress hormones or not, the happy neurotransmitters or not. That plays 50% of the role of whether you're going to activate these things to create the condition. So we have to begin with the gut because if that 15% of the lifestyle is not taken care of, there is no good microbiome for the other percent. And if I don't have a good microbiome and not a good lifestyle, well, the other 50% that we're talking about needs serotonin, which comes 90% from the gut. So you see how even though we say, oh, it's just this much, and so it gives us an excuse, I'll keep a good attitude but have some poor lifestyle, it's just not going to be enough at the end. It all stair steps on each other. So tonight, we're going to talk about practical steps, practical applications, some things we can do now that we know, okay, I should probably have more of my diet consist of the good food and less of the bad. Okay, we know basic things, but what are some other ways that we can really turn it around? And when I say turn it around, it's not as easy as you might think. It's not just you eating clean for 3 days and you got a perfectly good bio. Okay. It doesn't work that fast unless you use some of these strategies that we're going to talk about tonight. And why doesn't it work that fast? Well, if you had a huge 50-gallon vat of wine and then you had another vat of sewage, well, if I took a cup of wine and poured it into the sewage, it's still sewage. Now, if I take a cup of the sewage and pour it into the 50-gallon tub of wine, guess what? It's sewage. So it's going to take a lot of doing the right thing to turn that around and get it right again. And so with that, let's go ahead and begin, and I'll share the screen. So as I said, practical applications just to keep you balanced, which keeps all the redox chemistry that your body's making balanced and used for the right reasons, not just trying to defend yourself all the time and get you back to that homeostasis. So we learned how redox balances the gut biome and the signaling to the brain and our immune system, and so now we're going to take our focus of what it does and put some things into action and show you how to get the most out of simple things that we can actually do to make this a lot of fun. So remember, it's the small, consistent changes that you make that have a huge impact over time on that gut resilience. And so you're going to hear me say that a few different ways as we go on. So again, we talked about the diet. We know we have to have actual vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and legumes, things that your body's going to get good bacteria from. Okay, this is very important. We add in the probiotics, things like onions, garlic, asparagus, and then the supplements for probiotic are super valuable as well. Fermented foods like sauerkraut and things. We need that diversity of real food. Notice that I'm not saying processed food or canned food, semi-processed. And then we want to make sure that we're doing our anti-inflammatory type diet, as much whole food that you can have and the least amount of processed stuff, like we've always talked about. You need to have your fats, so your avocados, your nuts, your seeds, your fish that has high omega-3 is very important. And then reducing sugar. Okay, sugar spreads so fast, and we have other episodes that we talk about the sugar and the processed starches that you're eating. But we need to have energy, and it needs to come from actual real food. So, ironically, the foods are designed to have sugar to make you crave that food, and then not turn off the appetite. So I keep eating more and more and more of it, and that can be a dangerous habit. You can be clean for a long time and just have one bad meal. Think I'm just going to cheat this one time, but then all of a sudden you got a taste for that sugar. Now your real food doesn't taste as good. So bear with us that if it's the first time you're going to hear some of these strategies, After a few days or weeks without sugar, for many of us realize that we want to avoid dementia and cognitive decline. We have to try to avoid the sugar. Our body doesn't use it like we should, like you think it's using it, at least at the number and the amount of sugar that our average American and people around the world are actually eating. And then hydration, that is the number one nutritional deficiency on the planet, hands down. And you don't want to wait until you're thirsty to go have a drink. Start your morning off, little pinch of salt under your tongue, like a Himalayan sea salt with lots of minerals in it, and then drink your first glass of water. Now you're absorbing the water a whole lot better. I try to drink my whole daily amount of water within the first 3 hours that I'm awake, like several big 24-ounce glasses or 30-ounce glasses, because it's easy to drink it in the morning. Trying to catch up and stay hydrated after you're already dehydrated, it's a much more difficult program for your body to follow. Now, the detoxing pathways that happen throughout your gut as it's breaking things down and moving things along and assimilating, it is so dependent on hydration to make all of that happen. And so don't be afraid that if I drink more water, I have to go to the bathroom more often. That might be the case for a brief bit until you detox properly, and then you should be absorbing most of this water that you're drinking. And so that will get better as you get better. So let's talk for a minute about fasting and detoxing. Okay. Fasting promotes something called autophagy. And this is where your cells start to really repair themselves and then replace themselves if needed. Okay. And so that doesn't happen until a few days into not eating. Okay. And so it also helps reset your insulin sensitivity. And so you don't get insulin resistant, and then you don't create this constant inflammation that you're having. And it gives your gut time to repair, okay, and to rest. Now, fasting can be just a few hours, okay? It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're going to go on some crazy long fast. The simple approach to start helping your body have time to really work on that biome is something called intermittent fasting. Anywhere for 12 to 16 hours a day, you're not eating. So if you start eating at 10 a.m. in this scenario, it's about an 8 hour window, is the best. 12, a little bit more if that's what it has to be. But let's say you eat at 10 a.m. for the first time, and then you're eating at dinner at 6 p.m. And then you're eating nothing until 10 a.m. the next day. This allows your whole system to kick in to start to do a lot more renewal and repair. And you won't necessarily be hungry. Your body will get used to that routine, and it won't require food during that time. It knows that this is a time that I'm supposed to rest. But if you're constantly snacking all the time, you're constantly having to start the whole process over again and take energy away from other things that are happening. And if we're trying to get healthy and heal your body, it's great. If you can't do 8 hours, do 10 hours, okay? Or 12 hours, but at least have a 12-hour window minimum that you're not eating anything and just drinking water. Plenty of water during that time. Now, the gentle detox, you can do supplemental detoxes to help kind of flush the liver. Eating the lots of vegetables is doing exactly that. It's helping um, do some detox. Now, the fasting is more about a cleanse and a reset, and not so much like this aggressive detox that's gonna make you sick. Okay, that's not the necessary need for that. Now, there's people that can just do water for up to 30 days, and after those first couple days, you don't ever have the hunger again. I think that part's over. Some people say I could never go a day and just drink water. That sounds absolutely absurd. Well, you should be able to and not like get a headache and feel sick and all of that. You should be able to have that certain amount of fasting time and still maintain your health. And you'd be surprised. Something can click. You can just hear something and say, you know what? I'm going to do a fast. There's many people in the world that do a 24-hour fast every week. And they do one day a week that they just drink, and meditate more and rest more and recharge, and they're not eating during that time. Now, how do we tie in redox with all of this? Well, when you're doing these strategies, your body's actually producing a whole lot more redox. It's making the redox valve get turned up because it's going in to healing mode. It's not having to do all the breakdown food mode. So you're able to shift. That's this autophagy that we talked about. And so for the first 24 hours to 48 hours without eating, your body will shift into ketosis. And this is where it's going to shift and start getting all the fuel it needs from your fat. And we all have fat that our body can use for energy. So it's actually a much cleaner, better source of energy for our body. And when we're doing that, again, our redox signaling, your cells can make a little bit of redox or it can make a lot of redox if there's an urgent need. So when we put these um, fasting criteria into our world, there's now a need when we're not eating to go heal something. And so it's amazing, just a simple thing of timing when you're eating, how my body can now get that next level up on healing. And not only are you making a ton more redox molecules in your cells to make this next process happen. So after you're burning energy from the fat, then autophagy kicks in, and now you're going in and really repairing a cell. Like you see in this top picture here, your body's going to clean up all the junk and make it nice and clean, like it was vacuumed and all the windows were clean and it's functioning fantastic again. And so giving your body that time is super important. Now, when we can tie in more redox supplement on top of being in these zones, first of all, it's going to help your body eliminate most of the symptoms people feel when they're trying to fast, and the unpleasantness or the stress or the anxiety they start to feel, or the fatigue or lethargy. They just don't want to do anything. Those are all responses that, certainly anybody can have. Um, but when we're doing our redox through that, as your body's shifting from the going for sugar to going to fat, going to repair mode. These are all processes that are dependent on redox signaling to activate and turn the switch and get the next process going. So if we're already deficient and have a terrible diet and our bodies and our guts in horrible health and we start fasting, hey, it's used to always having a plethora of anything and now it doesn't, it's going to be uncomfortable a little bit. And those are signaling molecules telling me where's the food. So when we have extra resilience of more molecules in our body through our supplement, our body's much more robust. It's more resilient. It doesn't need to have those signals. You're going to be able to adapt smoother through the transitions of each of those healing mechanisms. Now, exercise and movement is so big. We all know we're supposed to do it, but it's the consistency of doing it all the time. It allows your actual benefit for your microbiome. It gives it so much diversity and helps move your colon and helps prevent constipation and brings oxygen into your body and into your system. Not to mention secreting endorphins, which are happy neurotransmitters as well, that you're only going to get when you're exercising. So during exercise, your mitochondria gets boosted. You got a higher demand, it needs to help you with that. So having the diversity in your mitochondrial function and then having a supplement on top of it allows all of this process that happens in the reoxygenation and the healing and the repair of all the tissue from exercise. It's the defense mechanisms and the repair all happening simultaneously. And so having a higher redox potential just allows your body to be more adaptive. So it's good to combine all the different types of exercises from stretching to aerobic to anaerobic and have that diversity. It's amazing what that does for your gut health and that gut brain access with the communication back to your brain that the gut's improving, the gut's producing more of this, the gut's eliminating that. Your brain is just listening and then it's following with whatever it needs to do to help you with all of that. So it's about having that potential and, of course, managing our stress. Okay. So many people just become so normal. And we've talked about this in other episodes where the allostatic load that we bear. It's the amount of stress that we allow into our world, and then we keep adding more and more and more. And it's the effect of stress over time that we hold on to. Now we're supposed to have all this adaptation happening. Times of the day when I can relax and I can breathe and truly rest and shift into that relaxation or parasympathetic mode. And then there's times of the day where we need to be busy and productive and effective and go and communicate. And that's a sympathetic mode. Unfortunately, most people are programmed to stay in the latter all day long because there's so many things to do. And so we have to remember, always take care of yourself first. You're the only supply sergeant that gives a hoot about what goes into your gut. Okay. You're the only one that controls that. Now, you might have two different people speaking on your shoulders to do it, don't do it, when it comes to, oh, the immediate gratification versus how much stress is that going to cause my body over time. It's a hard payoff sometimes, especially when you're not feeling happy and balanced because your gut's out of balance and your brain's out of balance. It's really hard to have the discipline to make the right choice. You just don't seem to care as much. So it's super important that we realize that the stress that we feel produces a hormone called cortisol, is one of them, and that absolutely reduces the function of your microbial environment, okay, and the whole balance in there. And you got to metabolize it, and that could take all day just to make those bad feelings go away. So don't let yourself jump to conclusions. I'm not going to let myself feel any kind of way until I get all the facts. That's what's important. Now, your redox stress link. Well, whenever you have stress, oxidative stress just bubbles over. Imagine you're boiling water on the stove and it's just nice water, then it's just nice warm water, then it's hot water, then all of a sudden it gets violent and it starts bubbling all over the countertop, okay? That's oxidative stress out of control. Okay? And so we don't want to have that happen. And when we're stressed out, all of your cells just start thinking about the mess you're making inside with all of that oxidative stress damaging things. And so that's why we need to produce more during a stressful time because remember, we make it and use it instantly. We don't save it up for when we need it. And so when we have a reserve where we're doing our supplement and over time, it reverses the aging. It gives us the ability to produce the amount that we did when we were young. Now, guess what? We have a bigger reserve to draw into as these stressful things happen. We don't get depleted and actually run out and then stop signaling. Okay, that's when organs fail and complications first, and then the organs fail. All of that happens because stress overtook the amount of oxidative stress overtook the body's ability to negate it. Remember, every cell's only thing that could hurt it, it's either oxidative stress or inflammation. Like those are the two worlds that your cell lives in, trying to defend both sides. And that's why it makes redox molecules to neutralize, neutralize, neutralize. So none of those things get too big that creates a symptom or a condition in your body. So as we build the resilience inside our cells, guess what? Our cells function better. And that is really the message here is just having practical tools, realizing that it's not all about just having a redox supplement. You want to actually apply these principles and you're going to see yourself achieve new levels of healing that you never really thought would ever happen for you because nobody's inspired you or kind of laid out the pathway or showed you this is what you could do to create a better outcome than where we're at right now. And so make it a priority to get enough sleep. If you're not getting 3 hours of deep and REM sleep or an average of 7 hours a night, you're not getting enough time to repair and heal your tissues and your cells, and you're aging too fast. Okay, we want to get a good night's sleep and have a social connection, being able to interact with people and have hobbies and things to go do is super important just for your brain health, maintaining happiness, having that brain and gut connection all work together. So here's an example of a redox friendly day. I always start out the morning and hydrate. Okay, right out of bed, we need to be drinking a glass of water. I like to do the sea salt under my tongue. So That's my minerals, okay? And then drinking, and then all of that comes in. Do some stretching, do some movement, and then take your redox supplement. Okay, this is starts the morning off right. Signaling is wide open. It's like waking up and turning on all the lights and turning all the circuit breakers back on. And okay, time to get busy for our daytime and things to do. Midday is when you probably want to have your biggest meal, okay, because your body can break it down and work it through better than having food in your gut while you're trying to sleep. And try to eat things like we've mentioned, the better choices, or a better bad choice if necessary. And then at night, wind down, have some sort of routine to enjoy the sunset or go for a walk, or some sort of way to just not think about all the stresses of the day and let them go. And then I'm always finishing the day with that redox supplement because I'm about to go into sleep. I want to be able to manage those sleep cycles. My body's going to go crazy healing mode. Okay. And 75% of all the new cells that happen in one day that your body makes, it's going to happen in that 1.5 hours of deep sleep. And so we want to make sure you get good sleep and have reserve to do that. If you come home and you're spent and you wait, stay up until you're just spent, you're usually not getting a good quality healing in that time. Try to have a routine and just be consistent with it. I will say consistency is more important than perfection. Meaning I didn't do this or this much or that much. Being consistent every day is better than trying to be perfect. Okay, at you have to kind of see how your body adapts and how you can heal and what to expect. But it's amazing. I mean, I have so many patients for 30 years that have had all sorts of problems with inflammation and headaches and sleep disorders and mood disorders. And once we finally get the gut right, then the choices of eating are much easier and you actually enjoy that food more. You kind of expect it and won't ever try to treat it, at least consistently like you did in the past to get it to this point. Okay. It takes a lot to change it. You can change it in a week, a 5 day water fast, a 3 to 5 day water only fast for those of you that are really brave. It will actually push you through that whole process of turning that biome around. And then coming off of that is important to do it gently, like with broth, um, vegetable or chicken broth, or what any kind of broth. And then that's like growing your whole new biome at that point. So I say doing the right habit will turn it slowly. Doing a more aggressive fast, maybe start with intermittent fasting, and then you could do a liquid only for a few days, or try the water only. That's like somebody that really is desperate and wants to get this done. Of course, don't just do that without having supervision of a healthcare professional to help you if you're going to do something aggressive like that. But we love doing that, and it's a great way to set your biome right back in place. And so it's all about being consistent with whatever it is that you're doing long enough to help it become a habit. And then it's something that's easy to follow moving forward. So we talked a lot about this redox supplement. SIA is the only company that's ever figured out how to break the molecules and keep them stable, break the bonds apart and stabilize them. So they're high energy, tiny molecules that are the same ones that your cell is making to deal with this oxidation inflammation. It's bringing the charge back to your cell. We're bioelectrical beings and we need to have potential. Okay. And so this is the signaling potential that your cells make in order to do that function. And by increasing this chemistry of this in your body, it's increasing the potential across the whole board. Your body knows exactly where you need more, and it's using more where it needs more. It might have a priority list. If you all of a sudden have all these more workers show up to help you do things, it's going to say, well, I know you want to go here, but we need you down in the gut first. We need you to help reorganize something here. So all you need to do is be consistent and consume it. Your body knows what to do with it. It's impossible for it not to work for you because this is exactly what your cells make in order to do everything it does to keep you alive. We wouldn't survive 3 minutes without having this being made in your body by you. Okay, so it's improving your body's ability to stay in homeostasis and bring out that best version of each and every one of your cells. So when we're eating whole foods and we're moving and we're managing our stress accordingly, and we can give our body a boost up on these signaling molecules, not only is it strengthening our redox balance throughout all of our gut and all of our cells throughout our body, it's giving us that long-term resilience. It's not just masking a symptom and making me feel better for a day. It's helping your body just respond better. You're the only one that can heal you, and it happens from inside within that cell. So some people get really excited and they can change a lot of things and maintain that, but a lot of times it doesn't last. You want to go back to your old ways. So pick one thing that you think you could change and work on changing that this week, and then add something else when you're ready. But the small consistent habits are the ones that are going to help all of us live a much healthier, more fruitful life with less illness, less time chasing doctors and symptoms and medications. There's a time and a place for all of that, but I don't want my life just to be consistent of more and more and more medications I need to stop the way I'm feeling, rather than let's just get my body feeling right and get my body functioning right to the best of our abilities to do that. And you would be surprised on how much of a better body you could make than you're doing now. No matter what you're doing, there's always ways to get it up to that next level. And so hopefully this was inspiring to all of you. I I've never known about the benefits of fasting until I learned it 30 something years ago. My whole life, I couldn't imagine going a day without eating. And then after doing several different modified diets where you're restricting certain pleasures of eating, I've had major breakthroughs spiritually, physically, of course, mentally. It's been an amazing journey, and I highly recommend anybody that's ever considered it to certainly try it. And now that you have something like redox signaling molecules, it's going to be a whole lot easier than it need be. Okay, so I wish you the best of that. We're not here to say anything about these redox molecules, that we're here to cure and treat and diagnose your conditions in your body. This is all about your body healing itself, and we're just giving our body more potential. And the mechanism of healing comes from within ourselves. So we're very excited to be able to work with our body and show people ways to stop fighting it and work with it and see how much more potential you can actually gain and how you can pull out that better version of yourself. Okay. Your body is making about 3 billion copies of your DNA to find the cleanest one to go into that new cell. I would want one from years and years ago, before the traumas, before the scars. It will find it. And that was my big takeaway and breakthrough coming out of my wheelchair. Is I was almost ready to give up hope after 17 years. And I finally realized, you know what? My body is making new versions of these tissues. I don't have to be stuck with the same condition. Started changing my thoughts, started changing the things I was eating, started adding redox signaling into my body. And it's been amazing just to watch the transformation of old scars, old tissues, old organs that didn't function as well. Now things coming back online and getting abilities back. And it's nothing short of a miracle, but that's what life is. It's a miracle. And we are bioelectrical beings. We need these electrical molecules to charge our cells and to signal. Without them, really nothing much else happens. So hopefully every time we say something here, we teach something here, you learn it from just another angle to kind of help the faith in your body's healing abilities keep improving. So that's all. Everybody have a wonderful day.